We are absolutely feeling the grind. But it's this time of the year where data starts to come more into focus. You start to have a slightly larger sample size and feel like you know things a little bit better. So I'm hoping for you and for everyone listening, this is an opportunity to make some money, win some fantasy games, take advantage of some of this larger sample size data that we have about the NFL. Also, just have fun. This is obviously just talking sports, watching football, watching red zone, watching athleticism. Who doesn't have a great time doing that? Hopefully you're doing it with friends and a cold beverage. What a great day, hopefully across the country. Great weather in a number of places in a warmer November day. But we have a large list of games in the early 1 p.m. window, 8 games that we'll go through, only 2 in the 4 p.m. window, definitely smaller with the bye weeks. Unfortunately, a number of teams on bye weeks. I'm sure that impacts a number of you with fantasy. We'll talk about how to address some of those positions. Then we have a great Sunday night football game, and we will speak briefly about Monday night football just so you can put it into some of your parlays and have the opportunity to include it in some of your bets. To talk about some of those teams on the bye, this week in week 9, the Browns, Cowboys, Broncos, Giants, Steelers, and 49ers are on a bye week. So Nick Chubb owners, Tony Pollard owners, Russell Wilson owners from the Broncos, Saquon Barkley owners, Najee Harris owners, and obviously Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey fantasy owners are all going to be looking for running backs that they can move into their starting lineup for the bench, maybe pick up off the waiver wire. A few people you may want to consider off the waiver wire: Caleb Huntley for the Atlanta Falcons. Depending on the status of Cordero Patterson, Huntley could get a number of touches. He's someone you may want to consider for your team. Obviously, Deion Jackson of the Indianapolis Colts, Jonathan Taylor out with injury, Nyheim Hines unable to, or was traded earlier this week, obviously. And so if you're looking for a running back that you can slot in, those are 2 potential options in more of a flex role. Obviously, you should have some running back depth on your team for guys like Nick Chubb and Saquon Barkley. We will go through the list of slate of games in just a second, but I do want to hand out a few early start flex or sit plays for today's fantasy owners. Geno Smith, I think, is an absolute start. He goes up against the Cardinals defense that allows the 10th most pass yards per game and the 4th most points per game. Aaron Jones owners, looking good for you, along with a number of other members of the Green Bay Packers as they play the Detroit Lions defense. The Lions are allowing 421 yards per game, most in the NFL, 154 rush yards per game, 3rd most in the NFL, and 32 points per game. That is the most in the NFL. So if you have Aaron Jones today, I definitely think he's a guy you can play and feel confident that he's going to put up good numbers. I know the Packers offense has been suspect of late, but a lot of reason to feel good about Aaron Jones today. A.J. Dillon might be someone you also want to plug in if he's available on the waiver wire. Again, if you have a running back who's on a bye week, A.J. Dillon might be a nice play in slew of them. At wide receiver, Kansas City Chief Mecole Hardman in tonight's Sunday night football game. I think he's a nice flex play. The Titans defense allows 254 pass yards per game. That's the 9th most in the NFL, and Hardman has been trending up with 8, 10, and 24 points in his last 3 games played. He was on a bye week last week, so he comes in healthy. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to have to pass a lot tonight. So I like Mecole Hardman in the flex. If you have Josh Jacobs, another running back who was disappointing last week along with the rest of the Las Vegas Raiders, question marks as to whether this offense under Josh McDaniels is actually going to be successful this year. But I like Josh Jacobs today playing against a Jaguars defense that ranks 23rd in fantasy against running backs. And last week's performance with Jacobs was his lowest of the season so far. I do expect a bit of a bounce back game. Though while we'll talk about that Jaguars-Raiders game, I do feel like that's an underplay. So something you may want to watch over the course of this NFL Sunday. Juju Smith-Schuster at wide receiver for the Chiefs. I know I just spoke of Hardman. I liked Juju Smith-Schuster as well. He's a start the same reasons he's trending up and playing against that Titans defense that allows a number of passing yards. For the Arizona Cardinals, tight end Zach Ertz, I like him as a start today. The Cardinals play a Seattle Seahawks defense that is ranked last in the league in defending against tight ends in fantasy. Zach Ertz is a nice play for today. And finally, Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, running back for the Cincinnati Bengals. I do like him as a start today, playing a Carolina Panthers defense that ranks 26th against running backs in fantasy this season. I'll actually give you one more. Jamal Williams, running back of the Detroit Lions. I had him as a flex for most of the week, but I actually like him as a start. The Lions play a Packers defense that allows 141 rush yards per game. That's the fourth most in the NFL. And the Packers are ranked 25th against running backs in fantasy so far this year. Plus, word is DeAndre Swift is going to be limited in today's action. So you can expect Jamal Williams to be getting much more play. And obviously, he's been a bell cow inside the red zone. But I look for Jamal Williams to have a much better day today against the Packers than even he's had in the last few weeks. And he's been a monster for fantasy owners who've had Jamal Williams. He's absolutely come through. Appreciate everyone joining our space and appreciate everyone watching and consuming Butt Fumble Sports content. At Sports Fumble on Twitter, at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our YouTube page. We love creating content. We love putting out picks and content for fans. Please give us feedback. We'd love to know what you want to talk about, what you're interested in, whether it's gambling, fantasy, player prop bets, stats, analytics, or storylines throughout the NFL and around the world of sports. While I appreciate everything that we're talking about, I'm trying to put things together so we can put a Twitter space together really quick. And welcome everybody to the Butt Fumble Sports NFL Week 9 preview. Exciting to talk about this week of NFL play. We have 8 games in the 1 p.m. window and 2 games. And welcome everybody to the Butt Fumble Sports NFL Week 9 preview. Exciting to talk about this week of NFL play. We have 8 games in the 1 p.m. window and 2 games in the 4 p.m. window before we get to Sunday Night Football. Everybody to the Butt Fumble Sports. Appreciate Bleece joining the space and manning the ship on camera. Appreciate everything you do, Bleece. For all those watching, follow us on Twitter at Sports Fumble, on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Butt Fumble Sports. Subscribe to our content on YouTube, and we'd love your feedback. For today's NFL Week 9, we'll be talking about the Bills against the Jets, the Chargers against the Falcons, the Dolphins against the Bears, the Packers against the Lions, the Colts against the Patriots, the Panthers against the Bengals, and the Raiders against the Jaguars, and finally the Vikings against the Commanders in our 1 p.m. windows, and then the Seahawks playing the Cardinals and the Rams playing the Bucs in the 4 p.m. window. Starting with that Buffalo Bills New York Jets game. Bills are 6-1, Jets are 5-3. This game is on CBS. The Bills are 11.5-point favorites. Over under set at 46 points. A couple of gambling trends for you for this game. Bills are 7-2-1 against the spread in their last 10 versus AFC East teams. Jets are 3-7 against the spread in their last 10 home games. The favorite is 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 meetings between the Bills and the Jets. And the under is 4-0 in the Bills' last 4 road games. For this game, if I had to make a pick, I like Buffalo to cover if I can get them by 10 or less. That may mean I need to buy the 1.5 as it's 11.5 where I see it. But if you buy the 1.5 and bring it down, I like your chances. What I don't like in this game is if you're taking the Bills by, let's say, 2 touchdowns. I just think that's a bit too much, a bit too challenging in this game. I think the Jets are going to be more competitive than people think, maybe merely because they have a defense that can contain parts of the Bills' offense. I know that sounds shocking given who the Bills have and who's on the Jets on offense these days, but I like that Sauce Gardner, while not matched up all day against Stephon Diggs, will have the opportunity to at least cover one side of the field consistently. He's played incredibly well in his rookie year. I've been impressed by him so far. One of the things I'm looking also for from the Jets is Quinnen Williams. What kind of pressure can he deliver up the middle against what's a very good Bills offensive line? Bills add Nyheim Hines. That's another offensive weapon. I think he'll be used primarily in the passing game. I think that's where the opportunity is to get Nyheim Hines involved in this Bills offense. But I like the Bills in this game by 10 points. I like the Jets if I'm moving that closer to 13 points. I am considering the under in this game. I think Zach Wilson's going to throw at least 1 pick. That's a prop bet that I definitely like, even though it's at minus 200. That's definitely a bet I'd take. But I also like Josh Allen to throw an interception in this game. And I think there will be times that the Bills put up yards, but may not get points. If the Bills get points, then, Bills will absolutely cover and that won't be the issue. But I think on the road against a Jets team, I know they're trying to bounce back from that Patriots loss last week that was highly disappointing. But I think the Jets defense is capable of putting up a good day. It's really about whether they can get back to the ground and pound. James Robinson needs to have a big game. Michael Carter, while I don't like him in fantasy, he needs to be, 15 carry back for the Jets today. And hopefully Robert Saleh is imploring his offensive coordinator to focus on the ground game. That's going to be highly important for the Jets to be successful today. Blease, what do you got for us?
Just wanted to say, tweet out the space if you can. And then if you could return in spatial here. I don't know where your guy ran from.
I'm standing next to this game's matchup.
No, if you stay right here, I'll swap them out.
Okay, I will do that right now. And that goes for everyone who's watching in YouTube or can join us in spatial. But Fumble Sports is doing sports in the metaverse. We are groundbreaking in that way, and we hope you join us. And we're trying to bring But Fumble Sports in the metaverse into the future all at once. So appreciate those who follow and appreciate those who are joining us for today's show.
Let's go.
Going to the next game, Los Angeles Chargers 4-3 playing the 4-4 Atlanta Falcons on Fox. The Chargers are 3-point favorites where I see it. The over-under set at 49.5. A few gambling trends for you before we break down this game. Chargers are 9-4 against the spread in their last 13 road games. The Falcons are 6-2 against the spread in their last 8 games overall. The underdog is 4-1 against the spread in the last 5 meetings between the Falcons and Chargers. The over is 5-1 in the Chargers' last 6 road games. And the under is 4-1 in the last 5 meetings between the two teams. Some storylines to think of. The Chargers continue to be plagued by injuries. They will be without a couple wide receivers today. Hopefully, DeAndre Carter is able to play. I'm still waiting to hear on that. He's been sick earlier this week, but Keenan Allen and obviously Mike Williams expected to be out. Mike Williams is out. Keenan Allen expected to be out as well. That makes Joshua Palmer a good pickup in fantasy, but it limits who Justin Herbert's throwing to, despite facing a defense that's just terrible against the pass. The Falcons have the 4th most yards allowed, passing yards allowed this year, 279. Justin Herbert should have a big day in fantasy. I like his over on total passing yards, but that's really about whether DeAndre Carter is healthy for me. There are a lot of questions surrounding this team in terms of health on offense, and so I like Austin Eckler to get over his receiving receptions prop, forgive me. And I like his receiving yards to also hit the over. But in terms of this game, the Falcons have just been competitive. They have covered the spread in 6 of their 8 games this year. Marcus Mariota does enough offensively to keep his team in the game. He's dynamic running the ball. He throws better at home. I like his player prop over 1.5 touchdowns, passing touchdowns, actually. When he's been at home, he's usually thrown for 2-3 touchdowns. I like that trend to continue today. So I think the Falcons keep this competitive. Falcons offense is averaging 25 points per game. The Chargers are averaging 23 points per game. So I like the Chargers if I had to pick a money line, but the Butt Fumble Sports bet for this game is the Falcons to cover. I like Falcons. I'm going to buy the 1.5. I'm going to buy a point just to make sure I'm getting better than a field goal. I like the Falcons at 3.5. If you can get them at 4.5, even better. But I do like the Falcons in this game to cover. I think there's just a good opportunity for you to get a home team, East Coast team playing in their normal window, facing a West Coast team traveling to the East that has injuries. A lot of reasons to like the Falcons in this one. Blease, is there anything you're looking for in this game?
No, there's not. I just want the Falcons to lose for the Bucs. That's all I want.
Well, great analysis there. We will go to the Miami Dolphins. 5-3 playing the Bears. Dolphins are 4-5. The Dolphins are 4.5 point favorites against the Bears. The over/under set at 45.5. Some gambling trends for you. The Dolphins are 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 meetings. The underdog is 4-0 against the spread in the last 4 meetings. The Bears 3-0-1 against the spread in their last 4 following an against the spread loss. The under is 4-0 in the Dolphins' last 4 games on grass. And the under is 5-1 in the last 6 games on grass. Happy to have Glockness Monster join us. Glockness Monster, doing? Appreciate you coming in. How's your NFL Sunday going?
We're up, we're living. God gave us another day, so it's another Sunday. Let's kill it.
Love the attitude. Hope your bets are going to go well today, and hope your fantasy plays are going to go well today. We're right now talking about Dolphins at Bears. For this game, given where the line is, one of the things that stood out to me is the trends that these two teams, when they play on grass, are the under. And something I think about when I think of the Miami Dolphins is they're a fast team. Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and the way the offense is literally structured in Mike McDaniel or whatever his name is, in his offense, they're a fast-track team. The fact that this is going to be on grass in Soldier Field, I like the under in this game. I can buy the 1.5. I can get it at, 47. I think that's a great play for this game, under 47. I think the Bears defense, though depleted due to trades with Robert Quinn and Roquan Smith no longer on the team, won't actually impact them nearly as much as you think, more because of how the Bears offense operates. They're heavy on the run, eat up clock, slow down the game, and this defense plays better at home. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any weather in Chicago. Would love to hear a weather report from someone out in our audience. But that being said, when the Bears play at home, they're a much better team. Defensively, I know they're depleted because of the trades, but I like the under. The Butt Fumble Sports pick for this game is the under 47.5 after you buy a 1.5. I am considering Miami on the money line, but I do like the Bears to cover if I buy a 1.5, get them at plus 6. That is something I'm considering. But the under 47 is my top play. Glockness Monster, what do you have for us?
Yeah, I think the Bears trades are going to hurt them on defense a lot more than people realize. I don't think they're going to be able to get pressure on Tua, and I think in that case, it's going to leave Waddle and Tyreek with too much time to get open. And the 47.5, although it's an intriguing over-under, I actually like the over on this. I think 48 points, it was my kind of like my line of where it's going to be this morning. If it was 48, if it was under, I was going over. If it was over, I was going under. And with it being at 47.5, well, we're taking the over on that, even though, like you said, they're bad on grass. I still think that offense is too high-powered not to put up points. And I think the Bears are going to have to do something on offense to look like they're even there, or else they're just going to get blown out of the water the entire game. And with that being the case, they're going to have to go away from their identity on the ground. And that's going to force them to put up points on the board and try and keep up.
Interesting you see it the other way. If you've seen where this line has moved, if you're getting the over-under at 47, I love buying the 1.5 again. I just want to lift my ceiling a little bit more. Butt Fumble Sports, you're going to hear it from me a lot in our content and in our conversation today. I am always going to buy the 1.5. I want to give myself a little bit of security. I know it's going to lessen my odds, but if I feel like if I can just take a little bit of advantage from Vegas, buy the 1.5 and try and just get a few more probability points in my favor, I like to do that. But if you get this line at, let's say, 47 right now, and you can buy it up to 48.5, I like it. If I liked it at 47, I love it at 48.5. And so for this game, though, I look for it to be a slower game, in part because of the defensive trades that were made. I think the Bears know what they're dealing with. I think it's a situation where you're going to see Justin Fields try to be more conservative. I'm curious to know how often Chase Claypool actually gets involved in this game. Are they going to target him frequently? I'm not touching that player prop. I like David Montgomery and I like Khalil Herbert more in this game. I'm looking towards their player props far more. But in both cases, I'm definitely not touching it too much. Does anyone else want to talk about Miami Dolphins at Chicago Bears? Feel free, raise your hand. Happy to let people jump into the conversation. For those who aren't following, at Sports Fumble on Twitter, at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube. We're streaming live on YouTube and in the metaverse on Spatial. Butt Fumble Sports, bringing the sports talk to the metaverse. Hope you join us in there and stream our content. Glockness Monster, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I mean, just more speaking on the trade aspect this week of the Chase Claypool trade, I think it's an interesting trade the Bears have made. Because if you look around the league at all the people that were in Fields' class of quarterbacks, every single one of those quarterbacks from his year and the year prior basically took a jump as soon as they got a legitimate wide receiver on their team. And if you look around at the Bears roster, I don't really see a lot of legitimate wide receivers outside of Claypool. But to put him from a wide receiver 2 at a Pittsburgh receiving core that was deep and had a little bit behind him as well as on top of him, and the depth at least, to do a Bears defense where he's going to be their primary focus, I just don't know what he's going to do for them besides just get open down the field. And they're literally just going to be looking to throw bombs to him. And that's the only place I see them plugging him in because he's not a short yardage receiver.
I feel the same way, and I think it's a great call, Glockness Monster, in part because he's not a great slant runner. He's not a great get-off-the-line speed wide receiver. He is a more physical back. He's going to fight a defensive back for a catch, and he's got good hands, but he's not someone who has breakaway speed, in my opinion. He's more of a 50-50 ball kind of wide receiver. So he doesn't get the kind of separation that I think actually Justin Fields needs. I think he needs a fast wide receiver off the line. I would have given him speed. I actually would have liked Kadarius Toney going to the Bears. I thought that would have been a really nice move and pickup for them. But obviously, Toney goes to the Chiefs and the rich get richer. We are going to move on to the next game and talk about the Green Bay Packers 3-5 at Detroit, playing the 1-6 Detroit Lions on Fox. I'm seeing the Packers are 3.5-point favorites. The over-under set at 49.5 points. A few gambling trends for you before we break this game down. The Packers are 2 against the spread in their last 7 road games. The Lions are 6-2 against the spread in their last 8 home games. Home team is 5-0 against the spread in the last 5 meetings between the two. The over is 9-4 in the last 13 meetings, and the over is 5-2 in the last 7 meetings in Detroit. I do like the Green Bay Packers money line. That is my bet for this game. I know some people think the odds are just, too wide. They like a tougher call or something. They don't like a bet that is minus 185. This is a game that I like to fold into other parlays. I like the Packers money line, but I actually am considering the Lions on the cover here. If I buy the 1.5 and I get them at +5, +5.5, I really like them in that kind of situation because the Lions at home have been competitive. I know that DeAndre Swift is limited in this game, but between Amon-Ra St. Brown and a number of Reynolds, a number of the options that Jared Goff has, they seem to be a more dynamic team offensively than people expect, certainly at home. And I like them against the Packers defense that at times has looked good and at times just gives up big plays unexpectedly. So I certainly like the Lions to cover in this game, but the Packers money line is definitely my play of the day. Over under, I'm not quite feeling Hawkinson being traded. I do think impacts my feeling about the over under, so I'm staying away from it right now. Glockness Monster, what do you have for us?
Yeah, so I've been possessed by the spirit of Mark Kolser for this prediction. I'm picking the Lions by a lot here. I don't think Green Bay has the offense to keep up, and I think that the Lions, and I can't believe I'm saying this because you would have told me prior to the season I'd be saying this in week 9 or whatever, that we're looking at the Lions being a top 5 offense in the league this year. I'd tell you to put a bullet through my head because that's about where I thought they would be, dead. But I still think I like the Lions money line. I don't think Green Bay has the offense to keep up. I don't think their defense is going to stop them, and I just think Aaron Rodgers needs a haircut before he's going to get anything going.
Yeah, this is one of the matchup stats that really just blew me away. Lions lead them in points per game, Lions lead them in yards per game, Lions lead them in pass yards per game, rush yards per game. Their offense is topping Aaron Rodgers. And yeah, I feel the same way. And I like that play of buying a 1.5 and getting them at +5 because I definitely think, I mean, if they don't win outright, they definitely are going to stay competitive, like you said. So I like that play of buying a 1.5.
Aaron Rodgers over 1.5 passing touchdowns is a player prop that I like for this game. I do think that the Packers focus on getting their offensive game back on track. I also love Aaron Jones in fantasy. I like A.J. Dillon. If you need a wide receiver off the waiver wire or off your bench to slot in because you have a running back who's on a bye week, A.J. Dillon might be a nice play for this game. On the other side, I really like Jamal Williams as a fantasy play for this day because DeAndre Swift's going to be limited. We've seen Jamal Williams has had a really impressive season, especially in the red zone. He's the focal point of the red zone offense for the Lions. So I like DeAndre Swift between the 20s. I love Jamal Williams in the red zone for fantasy today. Look at both sides when it comes to running backs. As for Jared Goff, if you want to take the weekly Jared Goff interception player prop bet, that always seems to cash. I think it's going off at -115. That's always a safe play for this game. We are going to get to the next game in our 1 p.m. window. 2-6 Carolina Panthers play the 4-4 Cincinnati Bengals on Fox. The Bengals are 7-point favorites. The over-under set at 42.5 points. Some gambling trends before we break it down. The Panthers are 3-1-1 against the spread in the last 5 meetings between the two teams. The Bengals are 6-1 against the spread in the last 7 home games. Panthers are 1-6 against the spread in their last 7 road games. The under is 5-2 in the Panthers' last 7 games overall, and the under is 10-2-1 in the Bengals' last 13 games overall. Carolina has just proven more in the last 2-3 weeks of their season than they did, I feel like, in the last, 18 months of their franchise.
They have a number of players who are clearly playing for their career, playing for a contract, playing for their future in the NFL. I've been really impressed with how Steve Wilkes has come in as an interim coach and has this team focused. I don't think they're going to win this game. I don't want to overhype them, but I do think they're going to be competitive. I think their defense is just better than people think. They spent a lot of draft capital on their defense the past, 3-4 years. It's maturing. It didn't develop enough under Matt Rule, but you're seeing the talent that is there. If they ever had a consistent offense, this team would be an 8-8, 9-7 caliber team based off of its defense. Brian Burns is a beast. J.C. Horn is a great defensive player. So I like this game to be a slightly more competitive than the line suggests. I like Carolina plus 8.5. I'm going to buy the 1.5. I just want to get it more than a touchdown. If you're getting it at 7.5, that's fine. I like buying the 1.5, getting it to 8.5. But I feel like this is going to be a touchdown game. I do think the Bengals bounce back slightly, but I do think Jamar Chase not being there does affect Joe Burrow, his consistency, certainly the big play component of the offense. Look for Joe Mixon to have a better game. Look for Joe Burrow to have a better game. But I do think that this comes down. This is a witching hour kind of game if you watch on Red Zone. I like this to be competitive. If it gets to 10 points, it would be late on a McPherson field goal. But for the most part, I feel confident about Carolina Panthers covering 8.5. Bengals winning this game on the money line. Glockness Monster, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I like the point you made about Carolina's defense. I legitimately think they're going to be a top 5 defense for years to come, just because of the youth and talent that they have that's coming up in that program. But I think what they've done in offense is they've completely lost their identity, getting rid of Christian McCaffrey and switching it up because that wasn't working. And we saw the way they started the season that it wasn't working. And they've kind of shifted to DJ Moore centric. And we saw last week they should have won that game. They lost it on a missed extra point and forced it into overtime where they got beat and all that played out. But anyways, I think that the Panthers moving forward, if they build around DJ Moore as their offensive centerpiece skill position wise, I think they may have something going. And we saw a flash of that last week, even though it was the Falcons who, even though they lead their division, are still a questionable team to be there. But in this game, I do think that it's a bounce back game for the Bengals. I think that they're going to win it. I just don't think they're going to win it by 8.5. I think they win this by a field goal or a touchdown tops. I think it's a close game. I think the Panthers hang them in. I don't think that they have their offensive identity that because Chase being out, that was kind of the centric focus of their offense was the Burrow, the Chase connection. T. Higgins is good. Boyd's good. Mixon's good, but they're just not the same as Jamar Chase. I mean, that's a talent that if you lose, you're literally losing one of your best players in the field. So like I said, I like the Bengals to win. I like the the Panthers against the spread. I think it's going to be a good game. I just think there's a lot of question marks with the new coach and everything that's going on in Carolina and how they're going to move forward. So it'll be a good game to see.
For all those listening on Twitter Space, all of those joining us on YouTube as we stream, and all of those in Spatial watching us in the metaverse, appreciate you supporting Butt Fumble Sports. Check us out on Twitter at SportsFumble and on Instagram, TikTok, and on YouTube at Butt Fumble Sports. We talk the NFL Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, and Monday, and we talk sports throughout the week. Definitely follow our bets. We had success yesterday in baseball. We've had success in football throughout the year. So we're having a lot of fun making money for you and for others. Enjoy you joining us in these space. And feel free to raise your hand. Join the conversation. Love questions. Love conversation. Love analysis from others. Definitely want to get some sports rants from fans and appreciate your take on the NFL day ahead. We're going to move to the 2-5 Las Vegas Raiders against the 2-6 Jacksonville Jaguars. This game is on CBS. Las Vegas is a 2-point favorite where I see it. The over-under set at 48.5. The Raiders are 2-5 against the spread in their last 7 meetings against the Jaguars. The Raiders are 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 road games this year. Jaguars are 2-6 against the spread in their last 8 home games. The under is 5-2 in the Raiders' last 7 road games, and the under is 5-0 in the Jaguars' last 5 home games. The Raiders probably had one of the most disappointing games of the year last week, being shut out in New Orleans 24-0. just an absolute embarrassment. Josh McDaniels, you have to wonder what's the state of his job right now. I do think he's going to make it through year one as Raiders head coach, but given where Derek Carr was last year, given they brought Devontae Adams into the mix, I know Hunter Renfrow has been injured, Darren Waller has been injured, but Devontae Adams, I think, had one catch last week for 3 yards. That's just embarrassing. There's no other word for it. The fact that Josh McDaniels went from New England, where he could script an offense to get Jonnu Smith or Hunter Henry or Nelson Aguilar the ball at least 2-3 times a game, but he can't do it for Devontae Adams. Something seems amiss in Las Vegas. For this game, I do like the under. The Butt Fumble Sports pick of the game is definitely the under. I'm looking at those 2 gambling note trends that I gave just a moment ago. The under being 5-2 in the Raiders' last 7 road games. The under 5-0 in the Jaguars' last 5 home games. I think these teams play to a certain style when at home and when on the road. The Raiders are a bad road team. Jacksonville isn't as dynamic at home as people expect them to be. We saw that earlier in the year against the Giants and the Texans, a number of matchups they've had at home. Trevor Lawrence, while he's good, he's not making the kind of progress in year 2 that maybe we expected. And while they added Calvin Ridley, that's next year. I like Zay Jones if you're looking for a player off the waiver wire, but I think this is a heavy Travis Etienne game. So I like the under in this game. I like Josh Jacobs and Etienne to be the focal points of the 2 offenses. Loch Ness Monster, what are your thoughts on this game?
I think it's a trap game. I think we're going to see one of 2 things happen here. We're either going to see the Raiders come out and play like they should be playing in the Super Bowl next week, or they're going to come out flat as fuck and they're just absolutely going to fail like they did last week. And I don't think there's an in-between. So I really think this is a trap game. I think the Raiders win. I think they come out and they have something to prove. They play with the chip on their shoulder and they win. I just think the over-under is a trap in this because it really just comes down to how the Raiders come out. They're either coming out and they're dropping 45 today, or they're coming out and they're dropping 10, and there's no in-between.
For me, the Raiders have been the hot stove. Every time I come near it, I end up touching it and I end up getting burned. So I'm staying away from this game when it comes to a spread play. I feel like the Jaguars are the better play if I had to go in one direction. But the Raiders I just don't like it at all. I feel like every time I bet a Raiders game, I come out the worst for it. I do like the under, like I mentioned. I do feel like this game, there might be a ton of yards between these 2 teams, but I wonder if they're going to be points. Las Vegas also making that travel from Vegas to Jacksonville and playing in the 1 p.m. window. I'm curious to know how that impacts them. I always wonder how West Coast teams or team playing in the West Coast time zone are impacted by playing in that 1 p.m. window. So I am curious to know how that impacts them. This is a big game for Josh McDaniels. I think the offensive play calling is better. I don't know if the execution is better in this one. So I like the under, and the under 49.5 after I buy 1.5 points is one of my 2 best bets of the day. When Paper Handicappers is doing our normal Sunday Twitter space, we put out best bets at the end of the show. One of my 2 best bets, Vegas and Jacksonville under 49.5. We'll get to my other one in just now. As we talk Minnesota Vikings 6-1 going to Washington to play the 4-4 Commanders. This one's on Fox. Where I'm seeing it, the Minnesota Vikings are 3-point favorites. The over-under set at 43.5 points. Some gambling notes for you before we break down this game. The underdog is 8-3 against the spread in the last 11 meetings between the 2 teams. The Vikings are 2-5 against the spread in their last 7 road games. Commanders are 8-3-1 against the spread in their last 12 games on grass. Over is 10-4 in the Vikings' last 14 road games, and the over is 6-1 in the last 7 meetings between the Vikings and the Commanders. I am taking a major risk in this game. I like the Vikings. I know they're on the road, and public money is hammering the Vikings. There is no team getting more public money or more public tickets than the Minnesota Vikings this week to cover. That scares the bejesus out of me. It tells me Vegas is setting me up and is setting me up along with the rest of the public. But I'm going to lean into Kirk Cousins going back to Washington and wanting to have a prove-it game. You like that 2.0. I think Kirk Cousins comes in. He's got TJ Hawkinson added to the offense. Justin Jefferson, I expect a big game from him. There's no reason for me to expect otherwise, given the Washington Commanders defense and their secondary. So I like Minnesota. I know I'm kind of going with the herd here and following the public money, but I like Minnesota to cover. I'm going to buy the 1.5, get it to 1.5 points. That's my other best bet of the day is Minnesota minus 1.5 after you buy the 1.5. But as long as you're getting Minnesota under a field goal, I like it. I really like it under 2, though, because I think Taylor Heinicke is a scrappy quarterback. He's competitive. He throws the ball around. He's just a much more dynamic player than people expect him to be. And for that reason, I really like this game to be far more competitive than people think. I think the Kirk Cousins wins. I think the Vikings cover, but I think this is a 2-point difference. That's why I like my 1.5. I also think Terry McLaurin is a nice play. I think he has chemistry with Taylor Heinicke that clearly was lacking when Carson Wentz was on the field. On one side note, this game is going to be under a microscope with the NFL and with the broadcast team at Fox. Obviously, what's happening with Dan Snyder and the potential sale of the Commanders is going to be talked about a lot. That has absolutely no bearing on this game. I don't think it distracts players one bit. I think they're locked in. I think they're trying to earn their job for the 2023 season. So Dan Snyder will be brought up in almost every NFL broadcast today, but it has no bearing on this game. I think Kirk Cousins coming back to Washington, that's the bigger storyline. That actually has some juice. I like the Vikings in this game on the money line and to cover. But watch out. You might want to take the 1.5 in the other direction and take the Commanders. That might be a nice play. I do love the over. I think the over is another great play. If you bought it down to 42 points, love it. Glockness Monster, hit us with some thoughts.
Yeah, the Vikings to me are like the cool kid in high school. He goes to his prom. He's got the limo service. He's got the bottle service. He's got the after party. But the only thing he doesn't have is a date. And in this case, his date is Kirk Cousins because the quarterback situation in Minnesota, he's not elite. He has everything else around him that is elite. He's got an elite tight end. He's got an elite receiver. He's got an elite running back. He's got an elite offensive line. And then you look at the quarterback position, it's just Kirk Cousins. It's just not elite. I do think the Vikings win today. I think Hawkinson's going to have a big game. O'Connell's already kind of hinted at it, saying he's going to unleash him today. I just don't think the Commanders have what it takes to like offensively hang in this game. Even with Kirk Cousins under center, I like over 1 interception with Kirk Cousins just because the Commanders defense does have something on that side of the ball, and I think they'll get one from them today. But I just don't see how the Commanders can keep up with them on offense when they have all these skill position players that any one of them with the ball in their hands is destined to end up in the end zone at some point in the game.
Appreciate all of you joining us in this Twitter space, on Spatial in the Metaverse, and on our YouTube stream. Follow Butt Fumble Sports at Sports Fumble on Twitter, at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Appreciate all of you following us. Please tweet out the space, let others know, and feel free to join the conversation. We want to engage with fans. Butt Fumble Sports, we want to democratize sports media. Give Glockness Monster, give Bet3, give Blease, give Butt Fumble Sports, give everyone the opportunity to feel like they're on-air talent. You know just as much as the people you see on TV. If you study, you do the research, you watch the games, why doesn't your opinion get the voice and opportunity and spotlight that it should? That's what we're trying to do here at Butt Fumble Sports. So feel free to join the conversation. It's absolutely the reason why we're here. We're going to move on to the Sunday window of games for the next slate. Seahawks 5-3 go to Arizona to play the 3-5 Cardinals on Fox. The Seahawks, despite their success in being first in the division, are underdogs in this game. I'm seeing the Cardinals as 2-point favorites. The over-under is set at 49 points. Some gambling trends for you before we break this game down. The Seahawks are 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 games overall. The road team is 11-4-1 against the spread in the last 16 meetings between the two. The underdog is 12-3-1 against the spread in the last 16 meetings between the two teams. The under is 5-2 in the Cardinals' last 7 games overall, and the under is 5-2 in the last 7 meetings between the Seahawks and Cardinals when they play in Arizona. Based off of a couple of those gambling trends, you can already tell where Butt Fumble Sports is going to go. The Butt Fumble Sports pick for this game is the Seahawks to cover. I'm going to buy the 1.5, get Seahawks plus 3.5. I don't see them losing by more than a field goal, so I love getting it at that price. I also like Seahawks on the money line. I actually think they're just a better team. You're seeing what Pete Carroll and is it John Schneider, whatever the GM of the Seahawks, whatever his name is, feel free to correct me out there in the space. But he has done a phenomenal job. The draft class they put together in the spring, fantastic. They have one of the best draft classes. I'd compare it against the Jets, the two top draft classes from this 2022 draft. And I think that you're seeing the dividends now. I see the Seahawks being more competitive in this game than people think. I think the Seahawks are going to cover this game plus 3.5. I see them winning, but I also like the under, and I'm just basing that off the gambling trends. There are a lot of reasons why I think public money will probably go towards the over, but I like the under in this game, given that the under is 5-2 in the Cardinals' last 7 games overall, and the under is 5-2 in the last 7 meetings between the two teams in Arizona. I like that trend staying true. Glockness Munster, what's your take on this game?
Yeah, I think we have here the battle of quarterbacks that shouldn't be starters. Geno Smith, even though he's looked ridiculous this year, I don't think he starts in any other offense in the league. Kyler Murray, I don't think he should start either. He can't see over the offensive line. I don't know how he gets the ball downfield. But we did see last week what the reemergence of DeAndre Hopkins from suspension is coming off, 7 weeks of health and rehabilitation prep. I do think that's going to create a problem for the Seahawks because their defense is very exploitable on the back end. Their secondary is weak. I think Arizona kind of has them beat this week just because the Seahawks are banged up on the outside with both DK and Lockett showing up on the injury report. So I think they're going to be a step slow there. I think the Cardinals win this game. I think, like you said, it's going to be a close one. I think 3.5 is a very fair line. I think that the Cardinals by a field goal is plausible. I also think they could win it by a touchdown. I just think it's going to be a one-possession game, and it's going to come down to who has the ball last, and I like the Cardinals here.
I can't believe the disrespect you're showing Geno Smith. I mean, I'm as big a Geno Smith hater entering this year as anybody. I thought he was overrated at West Virginia. I couldn't understand why the Jets made him the pick that he was. I thought it was classic Jets draft, mistake. That said, he has proven himself in this offense. He doesn't do too much. He uses the talent of his receivers like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. He, loaded at the receiver position. He doesn't even use Noah Fant like he should. So Geno Smith obviously has talent around him, but he plays within himself. And the fact you say he wouldn't get a job anywhere else, I'm looking at a number of places I bet he could play and actually play pretty well because he's proven to me he can play within a structured offense. I do give credit to clearly how his offensive coordinator is putting him in positions to win, but he's not making the stupid mistakes I see across this league week in, week out. Like one of the reasons I love over-under interceptions as a player prop is because I feel I watch so many games in which quarterbacks just make stupid throws. They're just throwing it into coverage or they're throwing the ball away, but it's not really away. Shout out to you, Zach Wilson. I just see a lot of mistakes week in, week out by quarterbacks, and I'm not seeing that from Geno Smith. High completion percentage, low turnovers, playing really conservatively at one point, and then he'll be more aggressive. He'll run or he'll make a daring throw when necessary. But I like how he's playing, so I disagree with you in terms of Geno. As for Kyler Murray, I'm kind of with you there. Like that stock has plummeted and certainly has me thinking, do NFL teams need to reevaluate who they select as the first overall pick in a draft? When it's a quarterback, yeah, it's great getting the most talented guy in a draft class, but you need a leader and you need a quality player to galvanize your team, to be the nucleus of your team. Kyler Murray just seems erratic, and he seems like he is as dysfunctional a player in any offensive system in any team. I'm not a big Kyler Murray guy at this point. The one thing you brought up that I completely agree with, DeAndre Hopkins, is he the best receiver in the league? If he's not, he's the second best. Phenomenal hands, great separation, great leaping ability, just unbelievable week in, week out. I can't wait to see what he does today. I expect another spectacular day. Glockness, come back at me. What you got?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the DeAndre Hopkins having 7 weeks of rest to get ready. I think that helped him a lot. But I also think that people are going to start figuring out the Geno Smith offense here soon. I think the glass slipper is going to fall off. We're 8 weeks into the season. They're finally getting enough film to actually sit there and analyze what he's doing. The only thing he has going for him is his decision making is very good because he's a mature quarterback. He's like 31 years old. He's been in the league for a while. He's backed up for the past 4 or 5 years, so he's got to develop some just maturity and decision making, watching other guys make mistakes ahead of him. But I don't think that he is a legitimate winning quarterback for a franchise moving forward. I don't think there's a franchise that's going to go out and be like, hey,
valid.
I'm going after Geno Smith to go win a Super Bowl. Like, it's just not happening. He might be coming in as a fill-in year, like a gap year, like Garoppolo is for San Fran right now, where they're waiting on Trey Lance. But I don't think you go out and sign him as a legitimate contender starting quarterback. And that's just where I'm at with him. And I think
I completely agree, and I think that's the right analysis. If I can counter, I think that's correct. I'll agree with that all day. He is not a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, but to say that he couldn't get a starting job other places in this league, to your point, who would you rather have right now, Geno Smith or Jimmy G? Who would you rather have right now, Geno Smith or Zach Wilson? And even Zach Wilson, I know there's a lot of upside, and Jet fans are going to tell me, like, in the long run, he's the play. But to that point, I think Geno Smith could play in a number of teams. I think right now, Geno Smith might be a better option than Kyler Murray. The Colts is another one. Great call, Bleece. Frankly, as much as the Patriots and the Mac Jones love looked good last year, Geno, for all these reasons, Geno Smith is just another guy, but he's just another guy who's not turning the ball over and has a high completion percentage. When those two ingredients are mixed into just another guy, he could start, I feel like, on half the teams in the NFL. So really, that was the only point I was going to make. I don't need to belabor Seahawks Cardinals. Should be a great game in the 4 p.m. window. We only have 2 of them. The other game in the 4 p.m. window is the Los Angeles Rams going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Rams are 3-4. The Bucs are 3-5. This is the big game on CBS. They'll have Jim Nantz and Tony Romo on the call. Tampa Bay is a 3-point favorite where I see it. Over under set at 42.5 points. Gambling trends for you before we break down this game. The Rams are 6-0 against the spread in their last 6 meetings in Tampa Bay. The underdog is 12-3-1 against the spread in their last 16 meetings between the Rams and Bucs. Road team is 4-1 against the spread in the last 5 meetings between the two. The over is 6-0 in the last 6 meetings, but the under is 13-3 in the Bucs' last 16 versus the NFC. I'm actually going to talk about this game second. Glockness, I'll let you go first. What do you have for this one?
Yeah, I think Kyren Williams is the story to watch here today in this game. And the reason being is I've been waiting over a decade to say this. Tom Brady's finally washed, so you don't have to worry about him anymore. Giselle's not using her witchcraft to keep him young. So I like the Rams in this game. I think Kyren Williams coming back is going to give them a little bit of a jump. I think Tyler Higbee is due for a big game. He's had 2 slow weeks after coming off like 3 or 4 games in a row with like 10 plus receptions, or like 10 plus targets, I think it was. And about somewhere in that ballpark, 7 to 10 receptions in those games as well. And then Cooper Kupp is going to play, so I think that's a big piece to this. I just don't think the Tampa Bay defense has enough to stop them, even though their offense has looked rough. As long as Stafford can keep the ball in their pocket and not turn it over a bunch, I think they're going to be okay. I just don't think that Tampa Bay has enough to beat them right now until they get a changed signal caller. I don't think they're going to have a whole lot of chance to beat anybody in this league moving forward, just because Tom Brady, besides being a game manager, he's not really doing a whole lot else out there. He's an on-the-field coach, and that's about it.
Wow, Glockness just hating on quarterbacks today, just taking the Uzi to him. So Tom Brady is still Tom Brady. I know the witchcraft of Giselle isn't there. And yes, he's not, 44 and playing at the level he was last year. But the mistakes I'm seeing from Tom Brady aren't about a lack of arm talent or arm strength. It really is about disconnect with wide receivers. And I actually think having the Thursday night game loss was one of the best things for them, in that they got that mini bye week. It's not quite a bye, but they get the extra couple of days. And I think combine that with the news that the divorce is official, I think Tom Brady kind of flushed a lot of what had been happening and is moving forward. And if the Bucs are going to get back on track and are going to make the playoffs, this is a must win for them. And I do think Tom Brady wins this game. I do like Tampa Bay on the money line. I do like the Rams to cover. I'm going to buy the 1.5, and I'm going to get the Rams plus 4.5. I feel like that's a great play because I don't think the Bucs right now can win by 5 points against anybody. So I like Rams plus 4.5, but I like Tampa Bay on the money line. And to me, the story of this game, actually putting the two senior citizen quarterbacks aside, between Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford, to me, this game comes down to actually two of their complements or complementary pieces. For the Rams, it's Cooper Kupp. What's his health? What's his status? The fact that he's even limited, I think, just is a reason for me to like Tampa Bay on the money line, because without Cooper Kupp at his best, is Matthew Stafford capable of winning a football game? Allen Robinson may be the most disappointing pickup of the year. I know Kenny Golladay is the award winner from last year, but there's certainly reason to believe that Allen Robinson can win that award this year. And the Rams offense just isn't what we expected. It's not dynamic. Sean McVay, being the genius that he is, we're just not seeing that right now. If they had gotten Christian McCaffrey, maybe we would have seen an explosion of offense, but they didn't. They didn't add anything. I think this team has a lot of question marks, and Cooper Kupp being hurt impacts their ability to score. On the other side of the ball, Tampa Bay averages just 61 rushing yards per game, by far the lowest in the NFL, putting even more pressure on Tom Brady and that 45-year-old passing arm. Part of the reason I think you're seeing Tom Brady and passing game struggle the way that you are is because they can't run the ball. And so not only are the passing numbers going up in terms of attempts, but you're not getting play action. You're not getting defenses sucked in, putting 7, 8 in the box. No, there's more coverage in the secondary because they just don't believe that Leonard Fournette's going to beat them. And while I think that they start to overcome some of that tonight, don't expect it to happen too much against Aaron Donald. You're not beating him on the interior part of the line. I think the Bucs offensive line has been one of the major stories of the year. The loss of continuity there, the loss of talent there. There's just a lot of reasons why Tom Brady isn't necessarily the problem. He may be contributing to it, but I don't think he is the problem. But I do like Tampa Bay. This is a primetime game. CBS, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo. Aren't those the games Tom Brady wins? He may not cover, but it feels like he's going to win this one. I like him on the money line. I like the Rams to cover. I am also looking at the under, just because of the way these two offenses have been playing of late. I'm going to go to Blease first, let him go, and then we'll get to you, Glockness, after him.
Yeah, you touched on the points there. They're last in the league in rushing. It's Ryan Jansen. I just think losing him just threw off Brady, and I think that's the issue. And I think you're right with Aaron Donald. I think they attacked the center of that line because of Jensen being out, and I just don't know if they get right. They have to improve their rushing game, and I just don't see it with this current line. And I honestly wanted to see the Bucs make a move before the trade deadline to help that offensive line, because that's just crumbling their whole offense. Like, when you look at it, I don't think it's Brady. He needs protection, and he needs a run game, and they just do not have it. And these are the two worst rushing teams right now. Tampa Bay's averaging 61.9, Rams are averaging 68.4, and those are the two worst rushing offenses.
Glockness, what you got?
Yeah, I think that the point you made about them not getting Christian McCaffrey, I think you should watch Kyron Williams this week. He's coming off IR. He's played one snap this year. He sprained his ankle in that one snap. He's a rookie. He could be that juice that kind of brings their offense to life as well. So that's another factor that I don't want to overlook in this game.
Appreciate all of you listening on Twitter Space. Appreciate you joining us on YouTube as we stream, and in Spatial, But Fumble Sports, bringing sports talk to the metaverse. If you want to join the conversation, feel free. At But Fumble Sports on Twitter, at Sports Fumble on Twitter, at But Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. We want to democratize sports media, give you the opportunity to talk, be heard, be on-air talent. You're just as good as Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless and all those buffoons on TV. This is your opportunity and your place to be heard and get your sports takes out there. So if you do have a sports take, raise your hand in Twitter Space. Would love to hear your take on NFL Sunday games, picks, player prop bets, fantasy plays. We love it all here at But Fumble Sports. We've gone through all of the 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. window games. We will get to Sunday Night Football in just a second, but I want to briefly go through our picks from a moment ago in case anyone hasn't been able to hear them. These are the But Fumble Sports picks of the day so far. I like Buffalo if I can get them at -10 or under that. I'm buying the 1.5 if I can get Buffalo by 10 or less. And I also like the under in that Jets Buffalo game. If that line stretches and I can get Jets like plus 13, I like that getting on both sides of it. For Chargers at Falcons, I like the Falcons to cover. I'm going to buy the 1.5, get Falcons at plus 4.5. This is a West Coast team traveling to the East Coast in the 1 p.m. time zone. I like the Falcons to cover in that game. Be careful, two teams that give up a lot of passing yards and a lot of points. I don't know how the over-under is going to play out. A lot of injuries on the Chargers side of the ball. For Dolphins at Bears, I like under. I'm going to buy the 1.5, get that ceiling up as high as I can, but take the under. When playing on grass, these two teams both play the under. I'm talking about the field surface. When they play on grass, they're just a little bit slower. They're not quite the same. The Dolphins isn't the same. Also considering Miami on the money line and considering Bears plus 6 if I buy the 1.5 and get Bears to cover. For Packers Lions, the Butt Fumble Sports pick for this game, I like Packers on the money line, but I'm considering Lions to cover after I buy the 1.5, considering Lions plus 5.5, plus 6 if you can get it that high. The trends say over, but I'm considering the under. No Hawkinson for the Lions, and the Packers defense is good against the pass. Packers offense isn't as good, so despite the trends saying over, I'm considering the under for that game. For Colts Patriots, Butt Fumble Sports pick for this one is the Patriots on the money line. Also considering Patriots to cover. Sam Ehlinger and the Colts offense just don't have a lot going on. One bet I may like for this game is a long shot. Let's put a defensive touchdown on the board, a long shot prop bet. I think you could see a pick six or a strip sack return for a touchdown. The Patriots defense in this game. I certainly like the over player prop. Sam Ehlinger over half an interception. For Panthers Bengals, the Butt Fumble Sports play for this one is Panthers to cover if I can get them by over a touchdown. Right now where I have them, I can buy the 1.5 and get Carolina plus 8.5. I got them plus 9 earlier in the week. I love that play. I like Bengals on the money line, Panthers to cover by 8.5. Raiders Jacksonville. I don't like playing this game in terms of the Raiders. They've burned me too many times, but I like the under in this one. It is one of my two best bets of the day, under 45.5 after I bought the 1.5. I'm definitely considering the Jags to cover as well. And for Minnesota, I like Minnesota to cover minus 1.5, my other second best bet of the day, also considering the over. Seahawks Cardinals, I like the Seahawks to cover by the 1.5. And I like Tampa Bay on the money line. Glockness, you've been waiting patiently as we just went through all of our bets for today. What do you think, and what do you got?
Oh, I just wanted to issue a quick correction. I thought Kyron Williams came off IR this week. They did not activate him. I think he's going to come off next week. They're rejecting this week, so that's my bad. I misread that.
And I just wanted to say we didn't hit on Colts Patriots. If you want to do that.
Yeah, then let's double back. Didn't mean to miss that game. The 3-4-1 Indianapolis Colts play the 4-4 New England Patriots on Fox. Where I see it, the Patriots are 5.5 point favorites. The over/under set at 39 points. Some gambling trends for you before we break it down. The Colts are 3-7 against the spread in their last 10 games overall. The home team is 4-0 against the spread in the last 4 meetings between the two. Colts are 2-5 against the spread in the last 7 meetings. Under is 7-0 in the Colts' last 7 road games, and the over is 6-0 in the last 6 meetings between the Colts and Pats in New England. I like New England on the money line. Like I mentioned a moment ago, I like the Patriots to cover as well. If I buy the 1.5, I get them down. Let's get it to -4. If I can get that to -3, -3.5. I like the Patriots in this game. I just don't know the offensive weapons that the Colts have. You know that Bill Belichick wants to take away the number one weapon on the opposing team's offense. I guess that would be Michael Pittman, but that's not really much of a number one weapon. No Jonathan Taylor in this game. He's injured. No Nyheim Hines. He's been traded to the Bills. So what does Frank Reich and the Colts offense really have to lean on? A lot of Deion Jackson, the running back we saw a couple weeks ago in the Broncos game that they had on Thursday night. He's going to be the primary back. I think he could have a nice fantasy day running the ball and with receptions. He might be nice on a few player props. But that said, I just don't see where the offense is coming from for the Colts. I like the Patriots in this game. It's a get-right game. I know they won last week, but they need to string together some wins if they're going to stay competitive in the AFC East. Mac Jones needs a win at home in front of his home fans so he doesn't get Bailey Zappi chants in his ear. So I like the Patriots to win this game. I like them to cover. I think this is a strong game by Ramondre Stevenson. Damian Harris is out with illness, non-COVID related illness, I believe. So Ramondre Stevenson should be in this one as a primary back for the Patriots. And the player prop I like the most, Sam Ehlinger is going to throw a pick in this game. This is a young quarterback with few targets to go to going up against Bill Belichick. If he throws enough in this game, I like that Bill Belichick's secondary is going to get to him at least once. So I like that player prop. That's an easy one for me. Glockness Monster, what do you got for us in this game?
Oh, I am hammering the Patriots at plus 5.5. They're going to win this game by touchdown or more. Like you said, the Colts just don't have any answers on offense. Outside of Deion Jackson and Michael Pittman, they really don't have a lot going on. Michael Pittman's probably not going to get the ball a whole lot because I don't see Ehlinger throwing more than 10 yards down the field more than 4 or 5 times this entire game. So I think that's going to already be a detriment to Michael Pittman's production. I think Deion Jackson's going to be the only productive player on the Colts side of the ball today. And with that being said, I do think that Bailey Zappi is the answer in New England. You all just haven't accepted it yet. Tops on top, baby.
Okay, Glockness Monsters just bringing crazy quarterback picks throughout our NFL Sunday preview. Just bring in some kamikaze quarterback takes to the world. Tom Brady's off a cliff. Bailey Zappi should be the quarterback in New England, and Geno Smith can barely get a job in the NFL. So Glockness Monster is officially the quarterback scout of the New York Jets.
I got to rep the Tops. It's my alma mater.
Who's the Tops?
WKU.
All right. Well, shout out to Western Kentucky and all of our support coming from that university. But that said, I'm going to stay with Mac Jones and Alabama. I'm pretty sure that alumni class, rooting for them. I know they're having a rough Sunday morning after that embarrassing loss last night to LSU. Sorry, Roll Tide, but no college football playoff for you this year. Getting back to the NFL, in this game, I mentioned it a moment ago, if you're looking to have a little fun and be a degenerate, one bet I like to make in this game, I like the Patriots to score a defensive touchdown. I think this is the kind of game in which the Patriots defense really hasn't been good the last few years. They have games against bad teams where they just rack up impressive stats. You saw it earlier this year against the Detroit Lions. You saw it against the Cleveland Browns. They'll play a team. They'll get a couple picks. They'll get a defensive score. They won't allow a lot of points. And then you look at the rankings and you go, man, this Patriots defense is really impressive. They're like top 5 or top 10 when really when they play against high quality opponents, they're not to that level. But this is the kind of game in which playing Sam Ehlinger and this Colts offense, I could see the Patriots defense getting a pick six, getting a strip sack, returning it for a touchdown. So if you want to put a few shekels on a long shot bet, on a long shot prop bet, I do like the Patriots defense to score a touchdown. Appreciate all of you joining us on Twitter Space and on Spatial in the Metaverse talking sports. A few updates for you. An injury alert. DeAndre Carter, wide receiver for the LA Chargers, has been upgraded to active. I mentioned him earlier. I love him in this game. If you need a wide receiver off the waiver wire, or you have him on your roster on the bench and you're considering him in the flex position or as a wide receiver, 2, I love him in this game. The Falcons passing defense is atrocious. Justin Herbert's going to need to find his wide receivers in this game. I like DeAndre Carter as a wide receiver to look towards. Josh Palmer's another one. I also saw DeAndre Swift is active for this game, but I'm hearing he's going to have limited touches. So while he will be active, I expect Jamal Williams will have the better day of the 2 running backs in Detroit against the Packers defense. Appreciate all you being with us at Sports Fumble on Twitter, at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Appreciate all of you streaming us on YouTube. You can get our content throughout the week on all of our platforms. We love putting out picks, putting out rants, and getting your takes. We want to democratize sports media. Feel free to send us your content, share your takes, put out your rants. We definitely want to be a place to distribute fan content. That's the purpose why we're here. Blease, what you got for us?
So I know you've been hating on Glockness's quarterback takes. I am taking a look at these player props here, and you are expecting some interceptions to be thrown. So I just want to throw that out there on your player props and call that out. You have, and if you wanted to talk about these, of why you think Josh Allen is going to throw an interception, of why you think Tua is going to throw an interception, and just want to hit on those.
So we'll get to the Sunday night football game in just a moment, but we will cover these player props that Blease brought up for these Sunday 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. window games. The over-under on Zach Wilson interceptions. I like the over. He's playing against the Bills defense that has 11 interceptions this year. That's the second most in the NFL. But on the other side of the ball, I actually like over half an interception for Josh Allen. Josh Allen facing a Jets defense that has 9 picks this year. That's tied for 4th. A lot of people continue to put the Jets defense down. Sauce Gardner in that secondary, opportunistic. I like Josh Allen over half an interception. You'll get that at good odds too. That where I saw it, I got it at even money. So I like that bet. Josh Allen over half an interception. As I mentioned a moment ago, love the player prop, Sam Ehlinger over half an interception against Belichick in the Patriots defense. As for Aaron Rodgers, I like over 1.5 passing touchdowns. That's not great money, minus 210, but I feel good about it. I feel like this is a game in which A-Rod's going to pad some of his stats against a bad Lions defense. Tua Tagovailoa, I like over half an interception in this game. The Bears defense is a bit more opportunistic than people think. I know that they have losses on the defensive line and in the linebacker position, but I think in Chicago, Tua trying to throw the ball around. I just see a tip pass, see an interception. I'm going to take the over. I'm getting that at minus 110, so I feel good about that bet as well. And one long shot player prop bet that I want to go with, Marcus Mariota, over 1.5 total passing touchdowns. I'm getting that at plus money, plus 205. In his last 2 home games, Mariota has thrown 5 touchdowns, 2 versus 49ers, 3 versus the Carolina Panthers. I feel good about him throwing 2 touchdowns today against a bad Chargers secondary. A couple more injury notes for you. Darren Waller is officially out. Darren Waller officially out for the Raiders, and James Robinson officially in for the New York Jets. That adds to my conviction that Michael Carter is not a good fantasy football play today. If you need to play him because of bye week issues and running backs that you can't play, I totally get it. But if you can avoid him, he might be best for a sit today, given that James Robinson is going to be splitting touches with him. Getting back to game picks, we're going to talk Sunday night football. The 5-2 Tennessee Titans play the 5-2 Kansas City Chiefs on NBC. Where I see it, the Kansas City Chiefs are 12.5-point favorites. Massive spread for this one. And the over-under set at 45.5 points. We are still waiting on word on the quarterback, whether it's Malik Willis or Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill dealing with an injury, ankle sprain. Malik Willis only threw 1 pass in the second half of last week's game against the Texans, partially because they didn't need him. Derrick Henry was just an absolute monster. 219 rushing yards last week and touchdowns. Henry is back to form. And you saw, I don't know if anyone had the opportunity, Mike Vrabel mic'd up last week. And in the locker room after the game, he said, this is why we have Derrick Henry. He is the king of the league in so many ways. And Mike Vrabel knows it. Expect Hall of Famer running back Derrick Henry to be relied on heavily tonight in Arrowhead. Mike Vrabel is a Bill Belichick style coach. He wants to control the game in terms of running the ball. He wants to own time of possession. He wants to take away what the opposing team does best, and he wants to dictate the game on his terms. Patrick Mahomes is the best weapon for the Chiefs. The best way to control him is to have him on the sidelines. Expect the Titans to try to put together a lot of long drives in this game. I like the Titans to cover. The Butt Fumble Sports pick of this game is the Titans to cover. I'm going to buy the 1.5. I'm getting Tennessee at plus 14. Tennessee at plus 14. You're giving me 2 touchdowns. I'm going to take it. I know it's Patrick Mahomes in prime time at home at Arrowhead, but I think that's just disrespectful to Derrick Henry, Mike Vrabel, and the Tennessee Titans. So I'm going to take Titans to cover. I am considering the under. Again, if I like Tennessee to cover in this game, I think there are just fewer points. I think it's a slower game, or fast in terms of clock, slower in terms of points and offense. So I am considering the under. Glockness Monster, what's your take for this one?
I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head here. I think it's Derrick Henry versus the Chiefs defense is what this game comes down to. Can they stop him? If they stop him, I think the Chiefs win this by significantly more than 14 points because I really don't see where they have answers on the outside. Robert Woods hasn't been very productive this year. Burks hasn't really done a whole lot of anything. And outside of those two on the outside, I mean, without A.J. Brown, there's nothing there. I don't think the Chiefs are going to have any problems playing man on the outside. They're going to put 8 in the box and they're going to make somebody else beat them. And I think that's what their strategy is going to be. So it's whether or not Derrick Henry can beat 8 in the box or whether or not Malik Willis or Tannehill, whoever starts, I don't really think it matters either way, is going to be able to beat them on the outside. And I just don't see it happening. I think the Chiefs have this one easy.
The Chiefs are averaging 32 points per game. That is the most in the NFL. And they throw for an average of 296 yards per game. That's the second most in the NFL. And they are facing a Titans defense that's ranked second in the league against the run. So I do expect it will be Patrick Mahomes versus Derrick Henry. Can Patrick Mahomes outthrow Derrick Henry's production on the ground? 2 fantasy plays that I like and 2 player prop bets I'll consider. Mecole Hardman and Juju Smith-Schuster. I like their over total receiving yards. I like them in fantasy today. Again, Titans want to take away the run. I don't like Clyde Edwards-Helaire for this game. I think there's Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball around, trying to get as many points when he's on the field in short form because they're not going to have that much time of possession. I think Derrick Henry, like I said, and the Titans are going to dictate time of possession. So I think the Titans may take an early lead, control clock, and that means Mahomes trying to throw it around the field to Kelsey, Hardman, and Juju Smith-Schuster. Now I want to open it up. Glockness, go for it.
I want to hop in here. We do realize that Patrick Mahomes needs less than 15 seconds to score a point, right? I do want to put that out there. So we don't need a lot of time of possession for the Chiefs to get moving.
No, we don't. And that's one of the reasons I like those wide receivers because at any given point, I feel like he can rack up a 20, 30, 50-yard reception to Hardman or Juju Smith-Schuster. That could hit an over total receiving yards prop right there. So one of the reasons I like those. We are going to talk Monday Night Football. Just in case you want to sprinkle this game in to some parlays, I want to be able to give you a bet. And that way you can add it to your Sunday tickets. The 5-3 Baltimore Ravens play the 3-5 New Orleans Saints on ESPN. The Ravens are 2.5-point favorites. The over-under set at 47.5 points. Gambling trends for you. The Ravens 2-5 against the spread in their last 7 Monday night games. The road team is 4-1 against the spread in the last 5 meetings between the Ravens and Saints. The Saints are 0-4 against the spread in the last 4 Monday night games they've had. The over is 4-1 in the Ravens' last 5 Monday games, and the over is 4-1 in the Saints' last 5 games overall. I like Baltimore to cover this one. I'm going to buy the 1.5, or I'm going to buy it down. So I'm getting Baltimore at let's say -1.5. I like that. I think Baltimore has not only proved that they are slowly getting better as the season progresses, not giving up those late leads like they were last year and early this part of this year, but the addition of Roquan Smith, I don't want to overstate it. I don't think it's going to turn their defense into a top 5 or top 10 defense overnight, but it was the absolute perfect addition to their team. It brings stability to the middle of the field. It allows their defensive front, their pass rushers, to be more aggressive, as their secondary to be more aggressive. It has an anchor now in the middle of the defense. I also think it's a big move for Patrick Queen. Patrick Queen, as talented as he is, he's not as good as Roquan Smith at anchoring that defense. So I love the addition of Roquan Smith. And the Saints, I think they got a great win last week against the Raiders, but I don't think they're going to follow that up with the same kind of performance or production. So I think the Saints have a fall off week. I love the Ravens in this game. Monday Night Football, I think the Ravens and Lamar Jackson outplay Alvin Kamara and the Saints. So the Butt Fumble Sports pick for this game is Baltimore to cover. Clockness Monster, have you given any thought to Monday Night Football yet?
With Marshawn Lattimore out, I really just don't see the Saints defense being the same. And I think for that reason, Baltimore is going to win this game pretty handedly. The Saints don't have a lot of offensive firepower from what I've seen. I mean, I know they're putting up points with Kamara. I just don't see the Ravens defense letting up those easy scores, though, that they've been getting the past few weeks. So I think the Ravens have this one pretty easy.
For all those who have been following us on Twitter Spaces, appreciate you. If you have takes on this game or others, we still have a few more minutes before we're going to shift our focus and actually go make our bets and go to Windows and place our fantasy team lineups. But if you have takes, if you have questions, if you have comments, feel free to raise your hand and get in the conversation. For those who want to follow us, at Sports Fumble on Twitter, at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube. Appreciate all of those who are streaming us on YouTube right now. We're in Spatial in our Metaverse studio, bringing sports talk into the Metaverse. And as I've mentioned today, Butt Fumble Sports, the purpose of our company is to democratize sports media. We believe the sports fan has as much to say and should have the spotlight in which to say it. So we want to give you the distribution and the opportunity to say it. Send us your content, send us your take, engage in our content, be a part of our company, join what we're doing. We want to make sports media accessible to the every fan. Appreciate all of those joining us today for NFL Week 9. I do want to go through again my best bets of the day for this NFL Week 9. Minnesota to cover -1.5 after I buy a 1.5, and Vegas, Jacksonville under 49.5. I'm buying that up as high as I can. If you can get it at better than 49.5, even better. If you can get it at 50, if you get it at 50.5, love it. But those are my two best bets of the day. Making a quick round through my picks for this day. I'll put this out in a tweet in a couple minutes so you can also have that. Buffalo to cover if I'm getting them 10 points or under. Atlanta to cover if I'm getting them at +4.5. Dolphins, Bears, under 47. I like that even more if you can get it higher, but I like the under. Packers on the money line. Patriots on the money line. Seahawks +3.5. Tampa Bay on the money line. Tennessee +14 after you buy the 1.5. I love Tennessee with 2 touchdowns in my favor. One I missed, Carolina +8.5. And for Monday Night Football, I like Baltimore to cover at -1.5. Appreciate all of you joining us for this NFL Week 9. Look forward to sharing our pick receipts every week. Butt Fumble Sports on Sunday night, Monday. We put out our pick receipts. We don't run from it. If we get it right, we tell you. If we get it wrong, we tell you. We care about putting out real takes, real picks, and then showing you real results. A lot of people go out there and say, I get all my picks right. That's nonsense. We hit about 65 to 80% of our bets. On good weeks, we're between 75 and 80. On lesser weeks, we're between 55 and 60. That's just how betting goes. But I feel confident that every week we're going to give you some winners. So try to listen. Don't take all of our bets and pack them into one big parlay. That's how Vegas makes its money. Listen to the games. Listen to our analysis. If you like our pick, feel free to tail. But at the same time, go with what your confidence level is and match your bet to it. Pick a unit you feel comfortable with. Let's say $10. If you feel confident about a game, maybe you put 3 times your confidence level on it and put $30 on it. If you don't feel confident about it, maybe you only put 1 unit on it or half a unit on it. Don't put too much money on bets you don't like. Don't put too much money on bets that you don't feel confident in. Bet your confidence level. So you may hear analysis on ESPN, Fox Sports, FS1, elsewhere on social media. Be careful. Sports betting is something you need to do with a bit of patience and with a careful eye towards your wallet. Don't jump in. Parlays are how Vegas makes its money. So we love giving out bets and we love looking at parlay tickets that cash, but be mindful. There's some risk in that. So look at some games that you like. Double down on the ones that you feel confident in, and the ones you feel less confident in, lessen your risk. Again, I'm going to go through the player props that I like today one more time before we sign off. Zach Wilson over half an interception. Josh Allen over half an interception. Sam Ellinger over half an interception. Tua Tagovailoa over half an interception. Aaron Rodgers over 1.5 passing touchdowns. And Marcus Mariota over 1.5 passing touchdowns. We put out all of our bets on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. follow us at Sports Fumble on Twitter, at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you to all of you for joining us on Twitter Space, joining us in Spatial, joining us in the Metaverse, joining us on YouTube. Good luck to everybody in Week 9. I hope your bets cash. I hope your fantasy teams win. And I look forward to talking to you Monday night. We're going to do a Twitter Space and a YouTube stream Monday night before the Monday Night Football game tomorrow. Join us. We're going to talk player props. We're going to talk fantasy plays if you need to slot some people in. And we're definitely going to talk the game. Obviously, we're going to get injury reports on Mark Andrews. Is Isaiah likely someone you should play at your tight end position? Something to consider. But we're going to talk that 7:30 tomorrow. I'll probably be there even earlier, so don't worry about it. But we're going to put out a reminder on Twitter. So join us at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Join us tomorrow night on Twitter Spaces for a Monday Night Football preview. And good luck on NFL Week 9, everyone.